For this summer top, we only need a few basic materials to get started. Now, as with a ton of my patterns, these are always made to measure, so you can very easily swap out the weight of yarn and the hook size that you're using. But for tutorial purposes, I will be using a number 4 worsted weight fiber. This is the Wool and the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton, and as I said, it's like a number 4 worsted. They also suggest to use a 5mm crochet hook, so I will also be using a 5mm crochet hook. But as I said, if you choose to use a lighter weight fiber such as like a sport weight or even a DK, just make sure that you are choosing your crochet hook accordingly. Of course, we're also going to need a pair of scissors to help cut our yarn. I would highly suggest to use a measuring tape just to make sure that your top is going to fit you perfectly. We only need a few different measurements across our body, which I will also include in this video, but along with trying the panels up against your body, I would very highly suggest to use a measuring tape. You can also grab some stitch markers when it comes to aligning the two panels up against each other. They're just going to help us hold our place as we begin stitching across the shoulders. And for those that would prefer, I'll also have this written pattern available for download. I'll link that up top and also down below in the description. The pattern will come with 2 different versions where you can either make the reversible top or a more backless version. I think both options are really cute, and again, they're both included in the written pattern. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first measurement that we need to take will be for the length of this top. I like to choose to start from the top of my shoulders and then just kind of measure down to however long I want this top to be. So I'm going to take that measurement, and with that number, we are going to create a starting chain in multiples of 3 plus 1. So let's go ahead and start off with the starting chain. I'm going to create a very basic slip knot and then insert my 5mm. And from here I can start chaining in multiples of 3 plus 1 to reach that initial measurement. So yarn over, chain, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And just make sure that as you're creating this initial chain that you're not creating it with too much tension or making it too tight. So here's my starting chain, and I decided to go with a total of 45 plus 1. So in total I have 46 chains. And just to double check, I wanted to aim for a length of about 14 inches long. So here you can see that I have about 14.5 inches, which is fine with me. For row 1, I'm going to begin by placing a double crochet into the 4th chain from my hook. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, and I like to turn my work over so that I can place my double crochet into these back bumps. So again, I'm going to yarn over and place a double crochet into the 4th chain. I'm going to rotate my work and count out 1, 2, 3, 4. And then from here I can pick up that back bump and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then again yarn over and pull through 2. And here at the start of the row, we officially have 2 double crochet. So we have the chain 3, which counts as the first double, and then the second double right here. And for the rest of the row, we're just going to continue placing 1 double crochet into each chain space. So I'm always going to be working into that back bump for this very first row, and then work a double crochet. And again, yarn over, pick up that next stitch, and work a double. And at this point, this is what row 1 should look like. Of course, we just have these very basic double crochets. So at this point, let's go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn our work. Now the chain 3 at the start of every single row is always going to count as our first double crochet. Next, I'm going to place a double crochet into the next available stitch, which is right here. So I'm going to insert and work this double. We're going to place another double into the next following stitch. And now for our next double, we're going to wrap this stitch around these 2 double crochet. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, and then we're going to reach across both of these double into this open space to the right, and then finish out our double crochet like normal. So let's go ahead and work through that right now. I'm going to yarn over, bring my hook all the way over to this open space on the right. So we're just wrapping around the body of those 2 double, and then I can pull up a loop, pull up a little bit, and then from here we can finish out our double crochet like normal. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2, And then from here, I can yarn over one last time and pull through 2. So this is what that wraparound stitch should look like. Again, we have the 2 double crochet worked, and then this 3rd double is wrapped entirely around the body of both of those doubles. And from here, we're going to repeat this process over and over. So from here, what I'm going to do is yarn over, skip 1 stitch, and work my double crochet into the next. So here I have 1 double. We're going to place another double crochet into the next stitch. And now for our 3rd double crochet in the row, I'm going to yarn over, wrap my hook all the way around these 2 doubles into the open space on the right. So again, I'm just going to reach over those 2, pull up a loop, and then finish out my double crochet like normal. And here is that 2nd wraparound stitch. I'm going to yarn over, skip 1 stitch, and work my double crochet into the next. So this is going to be my 1st double. We're going to work another double into the next stitch. So we have 2 double standing side by side. And now for our 3rd double crochet, we're going to yarn over and wrap around both of these 2 into the open space. Pull up a loop. So you should have 3 on your hook. And now we can finish out the regular double crochet. My yarn splits a little bit, so I kind of have to go slow, but hopefully if you guys are using a different fiber besides cotton, you won't get the splitting like me, and you can kind of work this stitch a little bit faster. But all in all, this is what your wraparound stitches should look like. And we're just going to repeat this process until the very end of row 2. We're going to finish with 1 last double into the last stitch. So here's what my row 2 is looking like so far, and I still have 1 more wraparound stitch to work here at the end of the row. So again, I'm going to yarn over, skip 1 stitch, work a double crochet, work another double, and then we're going to do that fancy little wraparound stitch. And now after this very last cluster, you should still have 2 more stitches until the end of your row. So what I'm going to do is skip 1 stitch and finish with 1 double into the very top of this chain 3. If you like, you can just kind of go into the chain 3 space right here, but I kind of prefer that nice even look. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I am going to pick up the 2 top loops on that 3rd turning chain and finish out with my very last double. So here's what the end of the row should look like. And all in all, this is my row 2. Now the beauty with this pattern is that this is going to easily repeat between these 2 rows. So after row 2 here, I'm going to go ahead and repeat row 1. So what I'm going to do is chain 3, turn my work, and at this point I can begin by placing 1 double crochet into every single stitch. Because this chain of 3 already counts as the first double in the row, I'm going to yarn over and work a double crochet into the next available stitch. And we're just picking up both 2 top loops like a standard double crochet. No front loop or back loop action, just nice even tension. I'm coming up here to the end of row 3, and I'm still working with my 1 double into every single stitch. And then here at the turning chain, the chain of 3, I'm going to pick up the 2 top loops, just because this is what I prefer, and then finish out with a double into that turning chain. So this is the end of row 3. And now again for row 4, we're just going to repeat row 2. So I'm going to start off with my chain of 3 and turn my work. And from here I can place 1 double into the next available stitch. And again, 1 more double into the next stitch. So we should have 2 double side by side. And from here I can work my next double as a wraparound around those 2 double, and then finish off like a standard double crochet. So there's my first wraparound. And to repeat this, we're going to skip 1 stitch and work a double into the next available, and work another double into the next stitch. And you guys guessed it, we're going to work our 3rd double crochet wrapped around those 2 into this nice open space right here. I'm just going to reach across and around and pull up a loop. And then we can finish out our double. Oh, this yarn is gonna drive me crazy. But there you guys have it. You see the gist of this pattern, hopefully. We're just gonna continue alternating between our double crochet rows and our wraparound stitch rows. So as you can see, after this wraparound, we're gonna do doubles, wraparound, doubles, and continue to add on as many rows until you can reach your measurement B. Now for measurement B, it's kind of up to you if you guys want a more tighter fitting top versus something that is a little bit more casual and has a lot more positive ease to it. Personally, I'm going to go for more of a tight fitting crop top. So what I'm going to do is take my overall chest circumference, I'm gonna wrap around my entire body and then divide this measurement in half. And that is how wide I need each of my body panels to be. Now, as you can see with this top, I am going to choose to turn my work so that as we're wearing this top, our stitches are running vertically instead of wearing it horizontally. And now at this point, I want to continue to add on as many rows as possible until I can reach half of my chest circumference, which again is gonna be my measurement B. Now, because I want a tighter fitting top, I wanna make sure that I am applying a little bit of stretch to it. So I'm gonna continue to add on a few more rows, and by a few, I mean a lot. And then I'll be back to show you guys how we're gonna stitch together this top. Okay, so I'm back now and I've just finished up working on my first panel. Now in total, I decided to go for 20 rows. I wanted to make sure that I stop off on an even number row. That way when we're seaming everything together, our cluster rows will lay up against the double crochet rows on the other panel, and then it'll kind of just look continuous like that. So in total, with my 20 rows lying flat, my piece measures to about 12.5 inches. But for my personal taste, I do want this to stretch to reach. I want this to be a little bit of a tighter fitting top. If I give my top a nice amount of stretch, it does reach to about 15 inches across. So in total, I'll have a reach of 30-inch circumference. And on your very last row, when you finish your last stitch and you're tying off your knot, make sure to leave a pretty nice long tail because we don't want to be reattaching more yarn. We're just going to use this remaining tail to help seam together the shoulders. But now that I have this first panel done, of course, we're going to want to go back and crochet ourselves a second matching panel. And here is my second matching panel. I also want to mention that I did take a quick second to steam block this because I'm using the 100% cotton. Cotton can get really weird when it stretches, and it can lay a little bit crooked in one spot and crooked in another. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm steam blocking my cotton piece before I go ahead and attach everything at the shoulders, which at this point we're pretty much ready to do. We're ready to start seaming the top of the shoulders as well as the side seams. So what I want to do first is make sure that I'm finding the front of the panel versus the back side. It's a little bit kind of tricky to tell which one's the front side, but if you needed any help kind of discerning between the two, the front side of the panel, you'll see the elongated double crochet running across that stitch, whereas on the wrong side of the panel, you only really get a little bit of the back side of that stitch. So always kind of look for more of that length running across both of those double crochets. I'm going to turn the top sideways as if to wear it and make sure that the right side of the panel is facing me. And then I'm going to take my second panel, find the front side, and I'm just going to make sure that both right sides are touching each other. So I'm kind of sandwiching them together. So I should have the wrong side facing outward and the wrong side facing outward. And I'm actually going to flip around my panel so that, as I mentioned earlier, my double crochet row here on the edge of my work is going to be attached to the cluster row right here. And then again, just to double check, I have a cluster row on this side, and then it's going to align with the double crochet row over here. All right, now when it comes to these shoulder sections, it's kind of up to you, but I think this top looks best when you only kind of sew a few inches worth versus sewing all the way up to kind of your neckline and making it really tight. I'm going to use some stitch markers to attach both of the panels together. That way, as I begin seaming, the panels don't move on me and I see exactly where I need to stop versus kind of just eyeballing it. So just to help me out here, I'm going to attach my stitch marker into the very first stitch on both panels. So now that that's attached right there, I'm just gonna count out maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 rows worth, and 1, 2, 3, 4 rows is going to be about 2.5 inches from the edge of my panel. We do also want to make sure that we're trying this top on before we physically seam it together, just to make sure that it looks exactly how we want and we don't have to go undoing any stitches. So this is what one of my shoulder sections is looking like, and as you can see, we're kind of pierced or attached through both the front and the back panel. And now I can go ahead and repeat this process on the other side. So again, I'm just going to attach a stitch marker into that very last stitch on this corner of the panel. And then from here I can count out 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. I'm going to put it into the very edge of that 4th row, and then count out again on the back row. 2, 3, 4. And if I kind of zoom you guys out a little bit, this is roughly what the top side of my work is looking like for these shoulder seams. And then secondly, we also want to mark off how far up we want to seam this top. Now, again, another section where it's kind of trial and error. It's kind of up to you how low or how tight you want your armholes to be. For me personally, I found that a safe rule of thumb is always somewhere between 6 and 7 inches from the top of your panel. But for those of us that have larger arms, or you want a little bit more wiggle room underneath your armpit, you don't want it to be too tight, you can always kind of gauge for like 8 inches or so. But again, we just want to mark off a section, attach it through both of the panels, and then take a quick moment to try the top on and just double check that it's not too tight or too loose. And right about here is 6 inches, but to be safe, I'm gonna go for about 7, and we can start from here. So using another stitch marker, I'm going to pierce through the stitch where I have my 7 inches. So I have that attached right here for the armhole as well. Let's go ahead and zoom you guys out. But naturally at this point I can go ahead and repeat this on the other side of my panel. So I'm just going to turn it around, count out. Again, for me personally, I'm going to do 21 stitches, which is about 7 inches. For the side seams, I'm going to attach a yarn at this corner and then just seam all the way up until I hit this stitch marker, and then of course repeat that on the other side. Since I like the way that the shoulders are sitting, I can start seaming together, starting on the outer edge of the panel. So let's just bring you in. I already have my super long tail weaved through the darning needle. And now at this point, I can just start whip stitching all the way across until I reach my 2nd stitch marker. And here at my very last stitch, instead of just pulling the yarn through with my needle sitting through kind of halfway like this, I'm just going to loop or wrap my yarn around the needle. And this is just going to give us a nice clean knot. All right, I just finished seaming together both of the shoulders, and this is what they're looking like, just a little bit on each side. And now we can go ahead and move on to the side seam of the top. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with my previous version, I did attach my yarn at the bottom corner of the top, and then I seamed all the way up until I hit that stitch marker. But as I was trying on this more tight fitting version, I thought it would also be really cute to have the option to only sew up like halfways instead of the full length. I don't know, something about just having kind of like an open seam on the bottom so that it's kind of flowy. It just has a little bit more character to it. I'm really just gonna eyeball this part, but I'm just gonna choose a spot like right here about halfways, and I'm just gonna mark that. And then I'm gonna count out these stitches right here and mimic it on the back side of the panel. What I'm gonna aim to do is really just seam up right here, just the distance right here. So at either spot I can attach a new yarn, and then again using that darning needle I'm just gonna whip stitch from one stitch marker to the next. Oh, and I should also mention that for these side seams, I'm just going to choose to work through the innermost loops. So here at my very first stitch, instead of picking up both two top loops on both panels, I'm just going to pick up the back loop on this first panel facing me, and then on the back panel, I'm going to pick up the front loop. So these are just considered the innermost loops. See how they're closest to each other instead of both the outer loops as well. So I'm just going to insert through there, tie on a knot here, and then looking at my next stitch, I'm going to pick up the innermost loop and the innermost loop, and then bring my yarn through, and then just repeat this all the way up until I reach my next stitch marker. So again, I'm just picking up the innermost loops. If you would prefer, you can totally pick up both two top loops on both panels, but I just find that especially with a thicker weight of yarn like this worsted weight, that the side seams can get a little bit bulky and chunky, and then sometimes it can make the top not lay completely right or like super flat. So I just prefer to pick up a little bit of yarn from both panels, just like so, and then pull through. There we go. So that's nice and tight. And this is what my little side seam is looking like. I have this nice opening for the armhole, just enough to attach it to underneath. And then I've left it a little bit open to give it a little bit of character, a little bit of like a side split, kind of give me like a 90s inspired top kind of. All right, and at this point, now that I have both of my side seams connected, so I've got one little side over here and another side over here, all that's left is to turn this top right side out. All in all, my little top is completed. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. It's so simple. It's gonna be a really quick make. Hope that you guys enjoy this tutorial. And again, I will have the written pattern linked up here and also down below in the description. So if you guys prefer having a downloadable written pattern, a little PDF version, if that's easier for you, I will also have that to accommodate this tutorial as well, along with the more open backless version. So you kind of have a few different options to pick from with the written pattern. And other than that, I hope that you guys have a lovely summer. I'll be seeing you all very soon in the next tutorial. Bye guys.